For college students, the pandemic meant giving up most of the on-campus experience for the past year and doing remote classes instead.
And as we work to rebound, some think virtual lessons could become a permanent part of a college education.
Denver 7's Nicole Brady takes a look at the future of higher education.
I actually kind of like the online classes, although I really do miss some of the more in-person experiences.
From private institutions like DU to community colleges to the shadow of the Flatirons on the CU Boulder campus, students across Colorado had to adjust their expectations this year. And now, with hints of a return to normal life on campus, we wonder how long the impact of the pandemic will be felt on higher education.
I think it does change what higher education looks like next year, next decade, into the future.
MSU Denver recently announced plans to be fully in person for the fall 2021 semester. But Matt Griswold, Associate Vice President for Online Learning, says the work they put into expanding remote options this year won't go to waste.
Virtual office hours, advising that it can occur regardless of being on campus or not. We had about 30% of our credit hours coming from online instruction before the pandemic. And we think what students demand is a balance between those two.
In a post-COVID world, we will definitely have more online offerings than we did before. That said, it is definitely taking an impact on many students who have, I get letters from students every week where they say, please, can we come back to campus?
It's that on-campus experience that many students say they miss most this year. And many colleges are taking a closer look at what they can provide beyond academics. This past year, the University of Denver launched a new program that's all about the total experience, the 4 Ds.
We define that as advancing intellectual growth, exploring character, promoting our own personal well-being, and developing our careers and lives of purpose.
V. Nay and other members of the 4-dimensional experience attended workshops on leadership, budgeting, and physical and mental well-being. The pandemic brought a new kind of stress and isolation for college students, and post-COVID, there's a growing understanding that they need more support.
Helping them understand the symptoms of stress, helping them navigate through the complexities of going to college and then thinking about careers afterwards.
But addressing students' needs takes on an even more critical role at colleges that serve less privileged students who may lack basics like food and technology and childcare.
We have to provide services that colleges never had to consider. We have to help connect them to other government services that they may need in order to continue.
I recently reported that Colorado colleges saw the biggest enrollment drops this year among first-generation students and students of color, a trend that threatens to further widen the gaps in our society.
I think that COVID has really laid bare a lot of the inequities across our system, whether it's healthcare or whatever else. And if we're going to, get to a new normal and recover from COVID, the role that higher education plays in lifting people into a better world is so huge.
But if colleges are the place that can lift people into better incomes, better lives, then their own viability as institutions is even more critical. The University of Colorado system is projecting a $218 million budget shortfall this year.
Over the time when we've had recessions, higher ed has taken deep cuts, and we have not recovered those cuts.
Angie Piccioni, executive director of the Colorado Department of Higher Ed, is optimistic that the legislature will restore the 58% budget cut that hit colleges last spring. The state has also approved a new funding formula for higher ed that will take effect this fall. It allocates more money to schools that educate students of color, low-income students, and first generation. MSU Denver recently asked for $50 million from the state to close the equity gap. But that money may not come quickly.
MSU, I appreciate them asking for what they need. And we are doing everything possible to make sure that there's equity in the funding process.
As Colorado colleges work to rebound from their own pandemic losses, their role in our overall rebound may be more important than ever.
Our economy, as we try to recover, is really going to depend on those trained workers. We want them to be prepared.
For students, it may be helpful to think of this past year, even with all the struggles, as an education of its own.
I basically think of it as college is not the end goal. It's never the end goal. It's merely a stepping stone to the rest of a student's life.
Nicole Brady, Denver 7.